Oh, this is the next installment in this depressing series. Today was worse than the past couple days. Woke up with a panicky sort of desperation to get out of this. I had things to deal with today that I did not feel like I could handle. And I couldn't do everything today I was supposed to do. I'm not gonna get into the details, but there was shit I had to do today and I partially did it, but that was it. I wanted to bail completely. That would have made things worse for other people. And not a single moment of today was easy. And when everything was done, just came in such a tidal wave again of panic, like the moment I woke up, that I can't keep up with this. Martin Gloff, Dan. Lila? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Conservative heathen. Hi. Hope everyone's doing all right. Martin says impressed at your output right now. I was feeling panicked and overwhelmed, and there was no. Yeah, so I decided to do a follow up. This is the one thing I can do in this state that I don't fuck up. This is the one thing I can do where I'm allowed to be as messed up and suicidal as I am. Wow, thanks for saying that you're here for me. Huh, you got unfriended today. And I didn't see it during the stream. One of the recent streams I did, I skipped a bunch. of the chat and said I would read it after. And when I read it after, Sally had stopped in to say hello and say that she can't handle watching me this depressed. So if anyone's tuned into this, that's like an old friend or anything, and it's difficult for you to see me like this, but you want to show support, like, hey, it's great you showed up, leave one comment, but then bail. I'm not doing this to get support, and I don't want anyone that this isn't helpful for watching this, if you get what I mean. So, like, I don't want anyone feeling like it's somehow solidarity to stick out a stream like this if it's tough on you. If you're watching this, I hope it's because you're somehow finding it helpful. Or fuck yeah, my last streams, someone enjoyed thoroughly, and had a great time watching it. So if you're having a great time watching this, or if you're struggling and find it comforting, or if you find this inspiring, or if you're trying to understand depression or suicidal tendencies because you have a family member or something, then watch it. If this in any way makes you feel bad or brings you down, don't watch it. I have no problem at all if there's some community members that are going to stay away while I'm in this state and show back up when I'm doing better. That's perfectly fine. I don't want to be bringing anyone else down. Gloff followed up by said he wants to move on out of nowhere. It was odd. That is odd, but who knows? Sometimes people want to make life changes, and talking to people who they were before that change, holds them back to their old self. It may have nothing to do with you. It may be something like that. Sweet and Sour Kraut says, struggling through sobriety. Had a hell of a week, but I'm here. I know what health feels like. It helps people struggling to know others are struggling too, because it means you're not alone. Well, I'm sorry to hear you're struggling, but I'm glad you found your way here. A few of us are struggling alongside each other. That's the idea of my current depressing series. And so if anyone doesn't know what's going on, coming in at this out of nowhere, I'm bipolar. I took a swing into extreme depression and suicidal states recently. And seeing as how that's an increasing problem in society, I decided to try to not disappear this time and just come back when I'm doing better, but to appear on a regular basis until I'm out of this suicidal stretch. Because I know there's a bunch of other people in the community who are feeling actively suicidal lately as well. Some people are finding this helpful. Oh, so there was an issue there, Gloff. Yeah, small wedding with limited invites can be difficult. Although, if it's just that, man, it's not just that. It's other shit that person's going through. Okay, conservative heathen says, good to hear that live streaming is something that does not cause overwhelming anxiety like it seemed to before. No, this has gotten fucking weird. I don't have anxiety over streaming anymore. Or lately. There was no anxiety about coming on like this at all. It was very much of a fuck it. I don't know what else to do with myself anyway. I need to process this suicidal panic, so I might as well set up a stream for. It also helps to set the stream up for like 20 minutes to not just try to go live, to set it up to go live in 20 minutes and then to sit down and prepare for it. I'm finding helpful. I didn't used to do that. Anyway. Hey, Haley. How you doing lately? Nice to hear from you. Conservative heathens wishing you good luck on the sobriety and is saying that tomorrow marks 1 year of sobriety for my closest friend. Well, I'll tell your friend congratulations. And hello, Taylor, Alaska. I hope you're doing well. And Sweet and Sour says, I drank to manage my mental health instead of reaching out. Bad solution. I'll have 6 months, October 23rd. Well, congratulations. That's no fucking small thing, 6 months. Yeah, that's all you can do, Gloff. But yeah, it's obviously more than just not getting a wedding invite, or not getting a wedding invite wouldn't have affected them like that. Yeah, it sucks that sometimes you want to work things out with someone and they're not in the same place. But yeah, the positive there thing, like Martin pointed out, is congrats on the wedding. Okay, Thomas says, what does suicidal panic feel like? I hear about people who crave suicide and I don't understand. Yeah, for me, the suicidal panic is a part of me starts screaming, now, 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 do it now before anything gets any worse. Fuck. God, I'm feeling it right now. There's states we can get in that are so internally painful. It's a feeling like you're in boiling water and you need to get out. It's killing you and it's unbearable. And there are times where, yeah, I just crave it or long for it. It just hurts so much. Sorry, I need a minute. I could go into more detail, Thomas, except that I don't think I can talk about those feelings right now without crying. I think it's a valuable thing to discuss. I might try again a bit later. But I'm going to move on from that question for now. So Eulalia? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It says you can think about things you have, things that you did. Don't worry about negative things. I would like to be able to say many positive things to you, but my English is bad. So what language do you speak? And no, your English isn't so bad, so nothing to apologize for. I appreciate that. What's your native tongue? And how are you doing tonight? Hey, Emily. Emily asks where I live in Quebec, in Canada. You're near Chicago. I'm in Quebec. Little farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere. We should talk sometime soon, Gloff. Hopefully, I'll be in a bit better state in a week or two. Haley says, I'm doing okay. I'm proud of you for taking the time to show up through this episode. I'm thinking of you. Thank you. I really appreciate the support. I'm glad that you're doing okay at the moment. You should post your Instagram link for everyone. Haley is an excellent artist. All right, you're probably already gone, Martin, but anyway, good to see you tonight. We'll talk sometime soon, too, hopefully, once I pull myself together a bit. Goff says, do you think the goal is not to end suffering, but to suffer well? Yeah, sometimes that's the goal that I set for myself. Um, I mean, I didn't think of it in those terms today, but yeah, I didn't I didn't respond to that panicky, suicidal feeling by trying to make myself believe today was going to be okay. I accepted from the moment it started that it was going to be some form of difficult. And I was probably worried it was going to be worse than it turned out being. Probably wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it was fucking bad today. I mean, I didn't fuck things up. I didn't do as much as I should have today. But I didn't fuck anything up. I didn't break down in front of anyone. I contained it in a way that allowed me to get through some stuff today. And like other people would have been able to tell I wasn't at my best, but I wasn't letting any of this extreme shit show. Fuck, it hurts so bad to hold it down like that. But that was the goal, to suffer well. To try to show up for the world as much as I could to the best that I fucking could. And I could have done much worse, but I also should have done better. Sometimes I wish I could just talk about all the things I refer to as outside circumstances, because it would make it easier to talk about the mental process going on and what I'm going through. But it's wise not to do that. I need to process some thoughts for a minute that are things I can't say out loud. Emily says, I'm hugging you so hard with my feelings right now. You're not alone, brother. The fact that you're even here talking through it is a huge sign of strength and love. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do not feel strong. I feel so fucking broken and weak. Yes, I've looked into trauma therapy a bit. Not in depth, though. All right, Gloff's agreeing with Emily. Says you're a strong person, Merc, more than you think sometimes. I recognize it and try to emulate you. Fuck. I do not feel like a person that someone should be trying to emulate. That's one of the clever tricks of depression. It will downplay and take for granted anything you do well. I'm aware that when I'm not suicidally depressed, when I think about how many years I've gone through of suicidal depression, that I see the strength in it then. I don't now. I remember that other parts of me look at us as strong for surviving this. And I even understand the logic behind it. This is brutally painful. This is actually like life threateningly serious. This kills people every fucking day. So I can understand the logic behind somebody enduring that repeatedly. And then even to go from that to trying to help other people. But it's still, there's no feeling of strength. No feeling of pride in that or anything. In fact, it's weird. Sometimes it makes me think I'll see. I mean, it does help. Like when people tell me I'm helping them, like when I hear that I've made something easier, or Anne commented that yesterday's stream, helped prepare her to be there for that person. It's like I feel good about the individual people I know I've helped. But that wears off quickly. It's hard for that to stick. And so a lot of the time, it's like if later, when I'm really getting hit with a difficult wave internally, I try to think to myself, remember what these people just wrote to you in the past day. The way you've helped this and this and this person. Later in the day, sometimes my depressed part is too fucking clever. It just starts into, look how easily you helped those people from that pathetic state. Why haven't you done more? And then I just start feeling horrible and seeing how much how much more I should have done. Jules asked how long I've been on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for 2.5 years. Wait, what the fuck? Has it been 2.5 years? This nonsense? Yeah, I think so. I think a bit over. The channel's older than that, though. I took it over from someone. All right, conservative heathen has something positive to add. Conservative heathen says, "Hey Merc, I'm watching my wife read nighttime books to my infant son in a world where that touching scene can happen. There's something to live for." That's beautiful. Yeah, Deborah Gabor Mate has some cool shit. I've listened to him a bit, but not at length. All right, Adrian says it's not so much that it's difficult to see you like this, although it is difficult, but I'm scared of saying something that makes it worse. Fair enough. Your natural inclination is to want to make it better. Maybe the best thing you can do is just bear witness. Yeah, for anyone who's like struggling with suicidal states, there's time where absolutely you've got to, like, I mean, even with myself, give up on trying to make anything better in the moment, and just try to experience the pain and try to detach or achieve a state of non-judgment, try to be curious or interested, try to just bear witness to it, not to try to fix it, even give up on hoping it'll end and just get through it moment by moment. Snap says you're an infinite being experiencing a finite life. I agree. I'm sorry, I'm just not able to respond to everything. I'm reading everything, but I don't know how much more talking I can do. Kloff says it's no small feat to fight against your own mind when it's actively fighting against you and win. Your mind is powerful. Fuck yeah, it is brutal how clever my mind is when I am suicidally depressed. The things it can torture me with. Sometimes you can't help but be cliche, Emily. Snap says you need to understand the whole point of your experience in this life, why you have been created. That solves everything. What answer did you find for the whole experience of your life? I used to sing in a punk band and then I played bass, Emily. Like, not well. I haven't played in quite a while. Last band I played with, I filled in on bass for a year with a friend's band when they lost their bass player until they could get a new one. But that band was called The Botched Suicides. Far behind my. Hey, thank you for the love and support from Australia, Deborah. Love and prayers and good energy right back at you from Quebec. Love says the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Yeah, but then does the process repeat? Thanks, my name. That's good general advice. I have been spending lots of time outside. And Gloff points out that Christ was both weak and strong on the crucifix as a way of reframing it. Fair enough. Snap says no amount of reasoning can fill your spiritual void. If you don't take care of it, you need to get your ideas straight with the Creator. Not easy, but absolutely necessary. Yeah, I agree. I fit into the stereotype of the lunatic that talks to gods and angels. So I have had all kinds of mystical and or delusional experiences. And when it comes right down to it, the reason I'm here, fuck, it feels so pathetic to say from this emotional state. But my pathetic delusion is that God has a plan for all of us. And I pray in a way that goes two ways. So, I mean, the way I ended up doing this channel, like, however many years ago, my brain can't do the fucking thinking about time. So I can picture the moment when I first came across this channel. I'd gotten interested in Peterson. I'd been watching his shit and came across Andrew's interview with Peterson. And an archangel that I talked to told me to subscribe to the channel. At that point, I didn't subscribe to things with my YouTube channel. I wasn't using any social media at all. I wasn't using Facebook. I wasn't messaging with people online. I was involved with some people in the real world. And the internet connection for me was like a radio station and a library and a movie theater. But but an archangel told me that I would help this guy one day. And I thought, how the fuck am I going to help Andrew one day? The archangel was like, yeah, don't worry about it. For now, just subscribe and I'll tell you. And it was a long time later. Andrew put out another video that caught my attention because it had magic in the title. And he compared a Peterson quote to an Alan Moore quote. And they were quotes that I had compared and thought a lot about. My archangel was like, see, I told you, reach out to him. So I reached out, and me and Andrew became friends, and he kind of used me sort of like a mentor. He'd ask me my opinion on stuff or talk things through with me. That eventually led to me taking over the channel. But when it comes down to it, considering all the time I've spent up in the extremely suicidal range, all the time, there's a lot of nights I barely made it through. It came down to being unable to deny that, even though, like, I don't say anything for absolute and I've gotten inner agnostic and I know that I don't know, that I don't just blink out. But it seems to me like we don't just blink out at the end. It seems to me that we are all that, we are one, and everything's made of love, and there appears to be an infinite creator that I really can't deny given what I've experienced. There appear to be angels fucking watching over me. that all say I'm not allowed to check out. If I had honestly believed differently, if I had honestly believed Richard Dawkins or Ricky Gervais that death's nothing to be afraid of because it's just like before you were here. Nothing bad happened before this life, in that model. Nothing happens after. It's not an eternal void of blackness. It's just nothing. It's fine. But if I didn't believe there was a creator and there was continued existence, I would have checked out at one of the lowest points in the past. That comes down to why I'm here. And whoever it was, Snaps, it's like, yeah, when you find the answer of why you're here, I've got a bit more specific an answer than just God has a plan for me, but I'm not going to try to get into that. But you're right, it fucking answers shit. And at times it answers shit in the way you don't want it to. When I'm suicidal, it answers that I can't kill myself. It's also, though, why I'm doing the channel, and it's why I'm doing this particularly embarrassing and pathetic series. Because knowing, combining why I feel I'm here with my current situation, it seems obvious that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And honestly, I don't like it. I don't like this series. I don't like feeling like this. I don't like the external circumstances that are outside my control. I do like that it helps people. Honestly, when I weigh out all the difficult parts of it and the amount it's helping, it doesn't seem worth it to me. But I don't appear to have a choice on a bunch of other shit. I don't know that I have any choice in anything, but if I do, I can choose to continue with this series. There's other things that I would much rather be putting my time into. There's other things I would much rather be making progress with. I just fucking can't. They're all brick walls at the moment. So just trust that this is the moment. This is exactly what she was born to be. This is what she is, and this is what she does. I don't know, sweet and sauerkraut, how to simplify my religious beliefs. I was raised Catholic, and I've gone outside of Catholicism, but I am Christian, but also other things. I don't know. Now, Gloff, apparently the journey isn't over. Okay, and Adrian says, so it's good to ask questions, but not to offer solutions. If somebody's depressed or suicidal in general, so I'm not even going to talk specifically with me. If you offer solutions in a way of saying, I don't know, certain things can be hard to believe. So saying things like, have you tried this or that, or you might want to consider this, or I don't know if this will help but it helped me. Offering what's helped you, or what. Another thing when it comes to advice for people in general, there's not even with depressed or suicidal people. Just when I watch interactions. If the advice you're going to give is because you read it somewhere, or heard it in a podcast, or learned it in a psychology class, or whatever, any of that shit, if that's where the advice is coming from, it's, hey, I know this fact about something that will help you. That's much less likely to reach the person. It's also much more likely to get taken in the wrong way and whatnot. But if your advice is, here's what helped me, or as firsthand as, someone you know well, and you saw a lot of what they were going through, and you saw how something helped them, you'll find that'll be heard more easily. But also don't assume that just because something helps 10 people in a row doesn't mean the 11th person that isn't what's going to help them. Sometimes one person's medicine is another person's poison. But a good thing in general, is if you're giving from experience and to share it, like, I don't know if this will help you, but here's what helped me. People are usually more receptive to that. Joel asks if I'm close to my parents. Yes, very. And in like every way. They're the next farm up the road from here. And it's my parents because I'm a fucking shut-in. I don't leave here often at all. I leave my house. Well, not my house. I go outside all the time. But I live out in the middle of nowhere. I go into public just a handful of times a year. My parents are the ones who pick up all my groceries when they're getting theirs. I'm going to take a break from talking and just read for a minute. Hello. Hi, my name. Nice to see another fellow Canadian. Last I talked to Andrew, he was doing well, for anyone else who's wondering. I agree, Squeeze. You are not your mind. I'm not my mind. All right, well, I'm going to read this one, though. I asked for this answer. So Snaps says, and the whole point of the experience in life, it's pretty hard to put in a YouTube comment. But what I can say is the starting goal is trying to find the path that leads you to feel the true love towards all humans, because we are truly brothers and sisters. Well said for an answer put into a YouTube comment. And then the next one says first time comment, so I've got to read this one. So routinely happy coaching. Welcome. I'm just going to call you Coach. All right, so Coach says, first time comment, my man, but I just wanted to say I really appreciate your strength and so eloquently conveying your wisdom. Honestly, putting yourself out there, not only help yourself, but others. is quite noble. That's a very nice first comment, Coach. Thanks. I appreciate that. It's hard for that shit to get through when I'm depressed. But it gets through a little. Thomas is, I'm sorry for asking that question. I assume the one about what it feels like. No, fucking don't be sorry. That's part of what I do here is talk about what it's like to experience some of that shit. I get like so you say sorry for asking that question because I don't understand. I stupidly didn't realize how that question could trigger those feelings. Please don't feel pressured to answer any questions. I don't feel like I have to answer anyone's questions. Don't worry about that, man. At all. And it didn't trigger those feelings. The feelings were inside and they're inside now. I've just got them. They're in the throne room. I've just got them off the throne. It was that as I tried to, so it's not even that you made me feel that, it's as I tried to discuss it, it started to express through the body. It wasn't that it wasn't there before, it just wasn't expressing. So yeah, no harm, no harm done, no fucking problem. In fact, I ask the question again some other time when I'm in a better state, even if I'm just depressed, but not suicidal. I'm willing to talk about that shit. Yeah, and I chose to try to talk about it. You didn't make me. All right, now the chat's frozen. It won't move. All right, there we go. And I'm not that far behind. Joel says you've made a refuge for me and others. Good. Anyone else here read the book Cabal by Clive Barker? Or am I the only one here who's read Cabal? And then if not, has anyone seen the movie The Nightbreed? Because that's based on the book. All right, Squeeze Me Macaroni, which are you new? I think I would remember that name, even in this depressed state. It says, I can offer some experiential evidence of how I overcame such feelings, if you like. Yes, I would like very much. Like, even if something you're going to say isn't something I need to hear, there's other people listening, either now or later, going through this shit. So please share, Squeeze Me Macaroni. Good night, Gloff. I really appreciate the fucking prayers. We'll talk sometime. All right, Snaps dropping more wisdom, I think, here. Says, well, here's my secret for everyone. Go outside and help people for free and do the best you can. I can guarantee you will feel better and find your path in life. Yeah. And fucking winter's coming. I'm in Quebec. I'm not much for outside once it's winter. But we should all get outside as much as we can. And that idea of helping other people for free and just doing the best you can. I can't imagine the world would be a worse place if we all were trying to do that. All right, Squeeze Me Macaroni says acceptance. It's only when you can accept that it is that you can then draw a line in the sand. A struggle is a challenge filled with resistance. Yeah. Very, very difficult to be accepting of a suicidal state. But that's what I've spent a lot of my time doing. And in fact, it was only from a place of accepting the suicidal state that I could come on to do this. I had an overwhelming, panically sense of suicide. Well, desire rise up. I could not shake it, and I could not think of anything that would help me shake it. And so I went into the acceptance of, okay, I'm fucking feeling this, and okay, I don't know how much longer I'll be feeling this. I'm going to try to do the best I can with this feeling. And then the thought came, well, if you're just going to be processing this anyway, do a live stream. But if I was outraged at the injustice that my precious consciousness should be suffering thusly, I certainly wouldn't have come online. Hey, T-Bone. I have zero interest in football or watching any sports. I am not a sports type person. I've never enjoyed watching sports. And even as a child, my enjoyment of playing sports was minimal. Like there's times where I had fun, but playing sports, but I would have rather played imaginative games with people or gone fishing or yeah, I'm just not a sports person. All right, so Macaroni continues, but what I can tell you that really changed my life and changed my ability to mostly deal with my mind and emotions was my diet. Yeah, I've heard some people say that. Diet? There's times where I've eaten healthier and worse and blah, blah, blah. I have never felt that I was as strongly affected by my diet as other people, but maybe I just never found the right one for me. Hey, Andrew. All right, you just got Weave World by Clyde Barker. Weave World's excellent as well. This one with the carpet, right? Yeah. Yeah, Weave World's excellent. Snap says, my personal experience is that from time to time I would pay for somebody's food when they seem poor. And one day a little girl asked me to buy her some school stuffs because she was poor and motherless. Oh, that's sweet. So I did and gave her some money. And after some time, my life just changed. I could feel love in the air and I can feel the peace within me. So all I can advise you all is less theory, more action. Well put. Yeah. And it is so easy to fucking help. There is always somebody in a worse position than you. Or fuck, you don't have to be doing better than somebody to help them. Um, like somebody who's doing better than you in every way possible could still be stranded with a flat tire and no cell battery. And you could stop and help them. Even if your life is pathetic and falling apart, but your car just barely runs, even though they're going to repo it next week, and you have a charge in your cell phone, you can help them. Some people are so easy to help. Back in my youth, when I was a punk, I used to go hang out at like squats, and like aside from hanging out with the street punks, you'd also hang out with the old bums and shit. Like hanging out in alleys and sleeping in parks and stuff. I used to do that shit a lot in my youth. Most of those old guys have major mental problems. Not all of them, though. Meet the odd one that's surprisingly together in their head, but just had a lot of bad luck. But most of them have some pretty serious mental issues that lead to a lot of substance abuse. Very easy to help those people. Giving them a couple smokes or a few dollars or buying them something to eat. And looking them in the eye when you do. Just kind of treating them like a person. It's also amazing how easy you can help people even online. So many people feel lonely right now. So many people are lacking encouragement, sympathy, understanding. You can learn how to be present with someone in a non-judgmental way. You'd be amazed what that can do for people, even over the internet. But there's lots of lonely old people in retirement homes that don't have family to visit them. When I was in college at McDonald, it was a farming program, farm management and technology, but for humanities. One semester, we went and visited we each got assigned to some old dude at the Veterans Hospital. It was veterans from World War II, so the average age was like 88 or something. Bunch of old people there that just, some of them had family visit. Some of them, the student seeing them was the only person seeing them. There's lots of people that are very easy to help just by being there. Then Emily adds, I shovel my neighbor's sidewalks in the winter for free. I'm out there anyway, and some of them are elderly. Plus, it gives my kids a reason to come out too. That's excellent. Another simple example. Good for you. Sure, it gives your street a more positive energy that you do that. Emily says, I can honestly say hanging out with a 2 to 4-year-old really helps you remember what matters in life and how to look at things differently. Yeah. I have a 1-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old daughter. Spending time with small children is one of the blessings available here on Earth. Emily says, well, considering you never eat out and live out in the middle of nowhere, you probably eat better than most Americans. There's been generally no. I buy fucking frozen garbage food that is easy to eat. I really don't like eating. Not even just when I'm depressed. I am tired of this fucking meat suit. This whole process of eating and shitting seems needlessly troublesome to me. I would be happy to be in some sort of body like Dr. Manhattan that doesn't need to eat, or to be like the Silver Surfer and just absorb cosmic rays. So I just eat once a day. I guess, yeah, you could be trendy and call that intermittent fasting, but I just think of it as eating once a day. I just eat one big meal, and for me, it's all about what's easiest. And so, no, I don't eat great generally. Joel suggests some Mark Strand poems. I will try to remember to look that up later. It's always good to have more good poems to read on some fucking full moon when I have nothing to say. Snap says nicotine is a strong depressant. Nicotine, this isn't one of those things. Like, I don't have smoker's guilt, and I don't feel like smoking is one of the things that, oh, I should really change. And I don't. What I liked about, not that I even did the fucking self authoring, but from what I've heard from everyone about the self authoring or just Peterson in general, I liked his style of letting people pick for themselves what to change. I understand that, like, the drugs and alcohol part of the self authoring isn't, him telling you what drugs and alcohol are good for you. It's you writing it in yourself. So I don't feel guilty, or I'm not trying to quit cigarettes. You'll find that there's a lot of schizophrenics and bipolar type 1 chain smoke. And yes, there are downsides to smoking, but there are positives from smoking as well. If you're bipolar type 1 or schizophrenic. Also, thinking of the fucking old folks home, the saddest things in the old folks home aren't when someone's in a wheelchair or they're having their third fucking or seventh bypass or whatever surgery. The saddest is seeing the Alzheimer's and the dementia. And smoking might increase the odds of cancer and some other things, but it decreases the odds of dementia and Alzheimer's. And some of us fucking Looney Tunes that have overactive brains chain smoke. And it does have a beneficial effect as well. So for me, the cigarettes aren't something I feel guilty about. And given like the studies of both placebo and the nocebo effect, which if anyone doesn't know, like most of us know, everyone knows the placebo effect here, I bet. But just in case, the placebo effect is you can give someone an empty pill, and if they really believe it's medicine, it can make them better. But you can also give someone an empty pill, and if you tell them it's going to make them sick, it'll make them sick. So you can give them some little fucking drink that has nothing that induces vomiting, and it can cause vomiting if the person believes it will. So I'm very, very confident that if you believe smoking is going to give you a tumor, it will, if that's what you're thinking about every time. But I don't feel bad about my smoking. And we all got to go one day. But for me, it's the short-term shit I got to get through. I'm not worried about long-term effects. I don't need to live past 100. I also feel oddly confident that I'm going to die when I'm supposed to die. As long as it's not suicide. Yeah. Like, I will do anything I can to avoid the danger of me committing suicide. That's the life-shortening thing that I concern myself, and that's the one. And I know, like, I should maybe eat better. I should definitely exercise more. I should feel better when I exercise more. It'd be better for my long-term health. There are things I should do to get healthier that I intend to when I'm able to. But that's not about trying to live longer. As long as I don't kill myself, I feel like I'm going to die exactly when I'm supposed to. I feel no need to worry about other health things. Emily was also a punk back in the day, apparently, hanging out with homeless. Ah, yeah, it's easy to get sad about the ones that have passed away. I lost a friend from those days last year. Like I heard through the grapevine, an old buddy of mine from back in the day when I was a teenager. Oh, I always knew how he was going to die. I always knew it would be a fucking overdose. He made it into his 50s and he never moved on from that life. He rode that life out from fucking early teenager right to the grave. Overdosed last year. Easy to be sad about that. Like that perspective's easy to understand. But on the other hand, I have more faith in things going well on the other side than on this side, to tell you the truth. I'm pretty confident they're all in a better place. Bye, Squeeze Me Macaroni. Yeah, Eckhart Tolle is great. I have no idea what you're saying, Capitano. Saludos para so salutations from I don't know. Emily says I have 2 girls, 2 boys. I have 2 biological kids and 3 stepkids, 4 daughters, 1 son. Fuck, I can't believe I've been on for an hour. I'll read this comment. Emily K says, I'm chain smoking too. We'll quit when we're good and ready. You can quit when you're ready. I'll quit when I'm dead. But Emily says, if I didn't do this, I'd be in prison or an asylum. Yeah, yeah. Actually, that was one of the worst things about being in an asylum for me. I could have chain smoked inside the insane asylum. It would have been much easier on me. Every time I've been in the fucking mental ward, it's been just me constantly trying to get out, but also just constantly watching for the next fucking smoke break, just staring at the clock until we're allowed to go outside and smoke again. I remember I've commented before in some live stream that if anyone ever fucking kidnaps me or is holding me hostage, make sure I have cigarettes. If you give me all the cigarettes I can smoke, I'll probably sit contently in my cell. But if you stick me in some kind of cell without cigarettes, you're going to have a hard time keeping me in there. That's the way I feel about this fucking body, too. This bone cage wrapped around my soul. Okay, Emily says, well, you definitely go outside than most Americans, and I can tell you're a good dude. Yeah, I spend a lot of time outside when the weather's good. Spring, summer, fall. I like spending past 3 years. It's feeding the birds and hanging out with chipmunks and squirrels and groundhogs. I've been hanging out with a lot of rodents the past 3 years. I really enjoy spending time outside alone with, chipmunk in my lap or feeding a groundhog or squirrel on my shoulder. Emily says, yep, it was overdose for all my friends too, and one of them lost a leg to diabetes because he never got help. It was cool, though, to see at a funeral with an Indian warrior ceremony. He really was a warrior. That's cool. Nah, if we're going to lose friends, better to lose them to an accidental overdose than an intentional suicide. Snaps. Fuck. As despite what I'm feeling, Snap says, you're a strong guy, you've got a strong personality, and you have a lot of willpower. You're also smart and healthy. You could definitely serve the greater good of humanity, and that would definitely heal you in the process. Well, that's the idea, sorting myself out overall, which in the past wasn't just by being a fucking public example of pathetic suicidal loser struggling on moment by moment. In the past, I did a bunch of podcasts and would do private sessions with people and group events and such. With the world ending and all, we need as many people chipping in as possible. So I've done the best I could in my own fucked up, pathetic way up till now, and who knows, because like what I do isn't just me. It's like what you do isn't just you. We're all individual waves of the same ocean. Our emotions affect each other. There's currents underneath moving all of us. And so even, and this channel's weird because it's like Andrew started it, and then for a while it was me and Ryan, and other people have volunteered. So it hasn't been just me at all ever. But even the part of it that is just me, even if you just look at my participation in the channel, it's not like that's just the result of my inner nature. It's a result of the combination of my inner nature and outside circumstances. There's shit that's been rough since I took over the channel. So I'm very aware that how much I can contribute in the future, and even the particular of how I can contribute, isn't just about the self work I do and the internal shit. It's not just about my nature. It's the combination of that and outside circumstance. Emily says they're also, they don't let you smoke in the psych ward. Yeah, for fuck's sakes. I can't believe that when they outlawed smoking in jails, that went over. How the fuck did prison populations put up with that? And Emily continues, especially when they make you watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest where everyone smokes the whole movie. That's a great book. The book's better than the movie. That was the one cool thing about visiting earlier, I'd said during that humanities class. We went to the Veterans Hospital, and it was the last like Veterans Hospital in Canada with people from World War II in it. It was like the last World War II veterans floor. And that was also the only floor of any hospital in Canada where they allowed smoking. The World War II vets, those old guys we went in to visit, us visiting them, and they could smoke. The government allowed smoking on that floor of the hospital. Because those vets, yeah, you try telling those vets from World War II that they can't smoke for their last couple years on Earth. But yeah, I have also often thought how fucking ridiculous it is when you look at what people in a mental institution are going through to have half of them fucking jonesing for nicotine the majority of the time. So Snap's advice is this to me or everyone: get your act together, go out in the world and spread some good vibes. You into Peterson? Yeah, that would be great. If everyone could do that. And actually, I would love it if I could do it in that order. I would love it if I could get my act together, like fill my own cup, and then help others from the overflow. But I have not, ever since I got hit by a bus and went completely insane, I have not been able to get my act together. Or another more pathetic way to reframe it could be this is me with my act together, because I am fucking nuts. Me, the first 6 years of being insane was a disaster. At least it's been well over a decade since I've been locked up in an institution. This is the best I've been able to do to sort myself out. And on one hand, if you compare me to someone like generally competent and basically stable, my life could be viewed as very, very pathetic. But if you compare me to what I was before, or what other people who are insane as me, you know, if you took the average of all of that, then I'm doing pretty well. But I can't seem to get that full cup that's overflowing. I can't seem to get my life together and help. And it seems to me that that's even not an accident, but by design when I plug into that mystical shit. I don't know how to explain it. Well, for anyone here who follows Jonathan Pajot, when he talks about God getting carried out to the edges, it seems that's what I'm supposed to do. And sometimes there's something about helping from the metaphorical gutter. It would be better if I was doing better, obviously. But this pathetic current fucking series of videos has helped some people in a way that I couldn't have helped if I wasn't actively going through it. Snaps asks if I've tried psilocybin for depression. I did a lot of mushrooms before I was insane. I did some during my first fucking psychotic break and haven't done any since. I detach from the world too fucking easily. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to take psychedelics again or not. If I was somebody who just had depression, I would probably try the psilocybin for that. But because I'm bipolar, there's the other end as well. I don't know. I might stay away from that my whole life. I can also reach altered states very similar to states that you would reach on psilocybin through meditation, fasting, different things. Like, not, I don't even have to fully fast. I can just reduce the amount I eat. Especially if I'm not in a depressed state, and lots of meditation and breathing exercises and such. I can induce altered states of consciousness that are quite psychedelic without any psychedelics. All right, so let's hear what the coach has to say. This came to mind regarding what you've already touched upon concerning you fighting against this state. Just to remind you, random strangers have found you in this place and you've helped them. That in itself is a virtuous act. You know, I know you're in a bad place, but I hope that my sentiment gets through. Instead of suffering by yourself, you're doing the best you can to sublimate and help others. Yes, I am. This is the best I can do, and it's better than nothing. Snaps adds to that I am a good storyteller. Oh, I'm glad you love my stories. I can't stand listening to myself. Emily says, yep, looking at your channel's videos, I see I watched a Jordan Peterson video and subscribed to your channel, but I never saw the lunatic stuff. So you could have subscribed way back when Andrew was running the channel. Chief asks if you ever tried meditation. But yeah, I answered that by saying, when talking about psychedelic, yeah, I meditate a lot sometimes. I've done tons of meditation, different kinds of meditation. Emily continues, I couldn't find which one exactly, but as soon as I saw the Jordan playlist, I was like, oh yeah, I remember my Jordan Peterson rabbit hole. That was pre-COVID, so I'm sorry it took me so long. Hey, no problem. I know that I'm sure there's still tons of subscribers to this channel who subscribed back in the day when Andrew was doing it. Then it went inactive for a long time. And if you don't look at a channel you've subscribed to for a few months, it drops to the bottom. YouTube stops recommending it. So there are still people who will come onto live streams and mistake me for Andrew. But hey, at least when you found the new fucking version of this, you got some value out of it. And Emily continues, but I think we're both where we need to be. I'm lighting a candle on my porch and listening to the crickets in your honor. That's a nice visual. I like crickets. I like candles and porches. Snap says, I don't know if anyone told you that before, but you are not perfect and you never will be because you're not supposed to be perfect at all. You just need to have good intentions. Thanks for that. What are you sorry about, Juan? Juan? I haven't seen another comment from you unless I skipped it, like or missed it. And yeah, Pat, the other way, your response to Snap, who says it's not all perfect. Yeah, maybe it is all perfectly imperfect. Maybe we all have exactly the faults we're supposed to have. I remember that being part of the experience of the near death thing when I got hit by the bus. I had an out of body experience. Time froze and I had that out of body experience. It involved plugging into this. Well, it's cheesy, but I guess I'd call it this pure love that was full of the fact that everything was perfect. Every speck of dust was exactly where it was supposed to be. Every problem was exactly the problem that leads us towards the glorious conclusion. Chief says, I know it's hard, but just stay positive. I stay positive when I can. And when I'm too overwhelmed by depression to stay positive, I just let that fucking come and go and I try to step back from it. And there's times where I just have to accept the current suffering and accept that even though I know there's a positive way to view things, it's not accessible to me. Depression, and especially suicidal depression, rather than a state of mind, it's the phenomenological experience is much more like being transported into an alternate dimension where good does not exist, where joy does not exist. And when that comes on, I can't hold a positive frame. Even when I try to call up the positive frames that I use at other times, it's like they just crumble in my hands. They won't, when you're in hell, the positive filters just malfunction. And so then you just trust that shit really is real, even though it's not real here. It becomes some weird test of faith. Oh, fuck. Austin says, dude, how's about work? Not sure what that means. And Trevina says, does weed help at all with the manic phases? Like, does it help bring you back to earth or at least make you pass out? Do you smoke weed? Dude, it'll help you chill. Yeah. I smoke weed on a regular basis. Too much weed, especially when I'm manic, isn't good for me. Not enough also is not good for me. So plant medications aren't that different from pharmaceuticals in that way. Yeah, there's times where weed can help me unwind a bit. Weed also, again, not too much, but not too little. It helps me with depression as well. Like the drugs that I use are nicotine and caffeine and weed. Like those are the plant medicines I use: the coffee bean, the tobacco, and the weed plants. And then I take melatonin on a regular basis, and I occasionally, the one like pharmaceutical that isn't something natural is I have a prescription for sleeping pills that I use occasionally. They're habit forming. You can't use them too often. And I've never had any problem with taking them too often and getting hooked or whatnot. All right, Emily's going to help us add to the pleasant visual. So quiet tonight and raining off and on. Super peaceful, and it smells like wet earth. So therapeutic. It's my favorite smell ever besides vanilla or really good weed. Yeah, that sounds like a nice moment. Martin says, I like that every problem is helping us as well. That we have the weaknesses we have for a reason. Yeah, I can't prove that. But if you act as if that's true, seems to be easier to get through this shit to me. Yeah, I have not checked out Emo Kev yet. Chief says, do I have any hobbies or interests to keep your mind busy? Yes. Although I also find I don't really need hobbies or interests to keep my mind busy. I like to meditate, and I can always find something to contemplate or imagine. But as far as like the one hobby, like the most hobbyish type hobby, well, like I said, I like to feed the birds in the summer. I like nature, if you count that as a hobby. But I collect vintage toys from my childhood. I've got a really powerful inner child that's about 4 to 6. So toys from the 80s. I've got a massive collection. Masters of the Universe, Sectars, Transformers, Converters, Crystar, Supernaturals, Boglins. And for me, like, it's a full-on hobby. I collect them. I like to play with them. I like fucking, the time searching them out, which mostly it's online or like the local classifieds, and I get someone else to pick them up. But a lot of time and researching the old toy lines. The TV show The Toys That Made Us is so fucking good. Also, the nerdy toy collector channels, Toy Galaxy and Michael Mercy and Justice Curry and a bunch of those channels. Like people my age obsessed with toys from the 80s, like, talking in depth about it. Yeah, I love that hobby. I find it very therapeutic. And I like watching the old fucking cartoons from the 80s as a kid. Snap says that feeling of peace when you're in an out of body experience is the blessing of the creator that people need to feel to understand our reality. Agreed. I would love to try as therapy. I would love to try getting flatlined. Anyone remember that old fucking, what was it, a 90s movie or late 80s, early 90s, Flatliners? I really do think when you look into near-death experiences that people have had and the effect it has on them, I like even when I'm not just talking when I'm suicidal or depressed. But when I'm depressed, I often think, fuck, I wish I could get back to that state again. I wish I could get like killed, have 5 minutes dead, and get brought back. But it's not even just when I'm depressed. Even when I'm level or feeling good, the thought of being able to get like a medically induced death and revival. I love the fucking idea of that. And I really wonder if I just wasn't out of the body enough. I really wonder if that's the one therapy treatment I would love to have. Is to get a full 5 minutes out of my body. Like when you've been in the car too long. Driving when you drive all day and you just want to get out of the car and stretch your legs for 5 minutes before you get back in and keep driving. I often feel that about this body. It's really not that far from fuck. Like, that might sound ridiculously reckless, but considering the other shit we've done to crazy people over the years, lowering them into fucking snake pits, strapping them in ice baths, fucking all kinds of shit. Or the electroshock therapy. We still have no idea why that actually helps people, that it helps. We just, I don't know, why don't we run a whole bunch of fucking electricity through this person's head and see if that helps them? We still do that shit all the time. I mean, like with a computer, you often, computer's fucked up, fucking power it down for a minute, turn it back on, and see what happens. I would love to do that with this fucking neurological system. Shut the whole thing down for 5 minutes. Let me the fuck out so I can stretch my soul. And then I'll get back in and do the rest of the drive. So if anyone knows a mad scientist type actual medical doctor that could arrange that being done properly and want to do some kind of study, that'd be awesome. And I would volunteer to be a bipolar test subject to see if death and revival is therapeutic for bipolar people. Casey says, as someone who is currently studying to enter the field of mental health. Okay, interesting. I'd like to hear about your experience with mental health professionals. Which ones helped you and which ones hurt you most? Okay, you still here, Casey? Yeah, I like it when I encounter someone through the channel who's, okay, yeah, you're still here, who's in the mental health field and wants to question me for that reason. I have had some rough experiences with some people in the mental health field. One of the worst was the first time I was locked up. A couple months after getting hit by the bus. And I was psychotic. I needed to be locked up. I was not aware I was psychotic. And I did not want to be locked up. But I got this one fucking doctor, the psychiatrist, and she did not like me. She was nice to some of the patients and seemed to care about some of them, but she seemed angry at some of us that we were the way we were. She did not like me at all. And I was ranting all kinds of crazy stuff about God. And not the fucking stuff I rant about here now that I've done. Like, this is, I hadn't done any shadow work. I hadn't done any meditation. I hadn't cleared off my lens that was, so I do think I was interacting with fucking real heavenly energies, but my delusions, and it was out of control. I hadn't been trained in how to connect to that shit. So I was out of my mind ranting and raving about things God's telling me to do. And she told me I wasn't getting out of the mental institution until I said there wasn't a God. She was like the Four Horsemen type, the Richard Dawkins. She was certain there was no God. And she did not like having to deal with me. At the worst, and it's funny that it was on June 6, 2006. So the date's 666. I remember her coming into my fucking room. And she says something like, are you ready to say that there's no God so we can start moving on with your treatment? I just flipped out on that. How dare you say that I need to say there's no God and blah, blah, blah. And religious rights and this and that. She was just like, all right, well, we're giving you electroshock therapy tomorrow if you don't say there's no God. And I really I flipped again. So then she walked it back. And she walked it back. She's like, fine, you don't have to say there's not a God. You have to say God doesn't talk to you. or you're getting electroshock therapy. And I was like, no, I want to call my parents. She's like, no, you can't call your parents. Like, I want to call a lawyer. She's like, no, you can't call a lawyer. Like, I can't call anyone. She was like, no, you can't leave this room. You can't call anyone. I said, you're not allowed to give me electroshock therapy. She said, yes, I am. I said, you're not allowed to tell me that God can't talk to me. She said, yes, I am. I spent that whole day fucking freaking the fuck out that I was getting electroshock therapy the next day. And I spent the day fucking begging orderlies and anyone I could to help me get a phone call out. And there were some nice ones who were really, they were like, listen, man, I am so fucking sorry. No, I don't, but, you know, I'm just the janitor or the whatever. You know, I'm sorry, I can't help you. She came in the next day. So, you willing to say there's no, God doesn't talk to you? Or am I taking you to get electroshock therapy right now? I said, I'm not saying that, and you're not taking me to get electroshock therapy right now. And if you drag me away and give me electroshock therapy, when I get out of here, I will sue the hospital, you know, do everything I can. And she just turned and walked out of the room. And she came back in a bit later and just said that she decided not to give me electroshock therapy and left again. The first time that I was able to talk to my parents after, they said that she called them and asked for permission to give me electroshock therapy and that they said no. So she was bluffing that she could do it, but she really tried to talk them into it. And if they'd given her permission, I would have gotten electroshock therapy against my will. That didn't help. With me feeling comfortable with the system. Also, I've had psychiatrists that do not listen, who are checked out, who write down something different than what I just said. Even though, and I'm not talking back when I was a like rambling psychotic lunatic, like back in those days. Like since the point where I pulled myself together a bit more, I've had therapists who, and actual psychiatrists who ask me a question and then do not write down what I answered. Where it's like they seem to be checked out and thinking about something else. And they've written down what they expected me to answer. They didn't even listen to my answer. They asked me a question, then nodded and wrote down what they were expecting me to say while totally tuning out what I said. I would highly advise you not to do that. Isn't there a moment in The Joker where he says something to the one therapist and then she just goes on with something else and he says, what was it? I just told you I've never been sure if I really exist and you don't hear me. It's really damaging to people to be asked to talk about what's going on inside them and difficult things. And if you ask and then don't listen, that's really damaging. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to ask? Did any of that help at all? Also, once I'm doing a bit better, if you're interested, maybe we could do a podcast together to upload on the channel. Like maybe we could have, if you find talking to me at all fucking helpful, like a podcast between us could be something that helps both other lunatics like me and other fucking students. I assume you're a student because you said you're looking to getting into the mental health field. Fuck, give me a second. Yeah. So anyway, if you are ever interested in like when I'm doing a bit better, I'm doing a podcast. Uh, there's a link for our disc. I think I put it in the description of this video. For our Discord, I'm Mercury Black. If you join our Discord, that's where anyone can send me direct messages, whether it's about whether you just want to say something to me in a message, or whether you want when I'm doing better, I do private sessions, or in the past I've done podcasts with audience members about what's going on in their life, or I've done podcasts with other professionals, authors and doctors and shit. So if you're anything from a viewer up to the professional level and you want to do a podcast in the future, write to me there. Let's see. Yeshua is the Messiah God. Bless and peace be with you. Yeah, Yeshua's fucking awesome. Blessings and peace be with you as well. Emily says, dude, I have the original Castle Grayskull. Nice. I have an original Castle Grayskull. I'd like a complete one. And I've got Snake Mountain and I've got Fright Zone. Like vintage. None of them are complete. They're in decent, like the paint's all right on them. They're in decent shape. They look nice, but none of them are complete. And I've got the icon statue of Castle Grayskull. It's fucking awesome. Oh, and you had Tila and She-Ra as a kid. I was never interested in the She-Ra. Because they're like bad Barbies. But I didn't as a kid have Tila, and I don't have Tila now, but I really want Tila. I've got a decent Masters of the Universe collection, but I've never owned a Tila. I've got Evelyn. I didn't have her as a kid. I've got her as an adult. Flatliners with Robin Williams. No, it had Kevin Bacon and Julia Roberts and Kiefer Sutherland. It's about a bunch of med students like killing themselves and bringing themselves back to life as an experiment. And yes, Carrie Fisher got electroshock therapy and talks about it in interviews. It's interesting. Yeah, my mom read her book. She wrote an autobiography and told me some shit about what was in the book. And I've heard Carrie Fisher talk in some interviews. Yeah, she was bipolar. And she voluntarily got electroshock therapy. She found it wiped her short-term memory, though. The one anecdote I remember, like, my mom telling me from the book was, like, she couldn't, it wiped her memory of who everyone was. And so she had to, like, say that in her answering machine as, hey, can you please tell me how I know you? I just had electroshock therapy and I can't remember who people are or how I know them. So one of the downsides to electroshock therapy, apparently, is memory loss. One of the fucking, like, one sad moment from I was just seeing a psychiatrist or something. I was waiting outside, but by that, by the door where the people go in to see the psychiatrist and shit. And so I'm just having a cigarette outside. There's someone out there who's like out having a cigarette from the psych ward. I knew they were from the psych ward. It's like they had the hospital gown, but I knew they were from the psych ward because they had a security guard on them while they were out smoking. The security guard was being subtle about it. Someone else might not have noticed that the guard's standing, a bit over leaning in the corner and not, looking directly at her. But I could tell he was watching her. So I struck up a conversation. And yeah, she was inside, but she was inside voluntarily. She'd had depression that had been going on for years. Yeah, and so obviously I struck up a conversation. I have sympathy for anyone who's in the psych ward and who's in some kind of state they're being watched. Because I've been in the psych ward where I have to be watched by a security guard when I'm not locked up in my room. But she was in there voluntarily. Her depression was just too bad. She was really afraid she was going to kill herself, and she had kids and shit. So she checked herself in, and they were at the end of their ropes. It had been a decade, I think she said, of them trying all kinds of different medications, and nothing was working. And over the decade, the depression was getting worse and worse. And so it was at the point of years of struggling with suicidal. And she was trying every therapy they would give her. And she was trying every kind of med they would give her, and nothing was working. Her depression was just getting worse year after year. So she finally decided to try the shock therapy. She was scheduled to get it the next day. She was afraid to get it. She was afraid of the side effects. She said she was really worried about not remembering her kids. Like, afraid that that would be traumatic to them. But she came out of the hospital and couldn't remember them. But she said she just realized she was going to end up dead if she didn't try something. I don't know how that turned out for her. We didn't exchange numbers or anything. We just talked for a while. That's how bad it can get. It can get to the point where you're ready to try anything. Yeah, I don't think dimensional, though, that the mad scientist you're talking about would want to run that kind of experiment I want to run. All right, Martin, which story, sick as it is, made you laugh? I don't remember I don't know how far behind I am. So I don't know what story made you laugh. And Snap says some people are just evil. And Dog Guy is a question mark. But I don't know what that's in response to. Martin says, by the way, Mark, have you seen the Pajot video about 666? He says one interpretation that it's about control, which fits perfectly in this case. Yes, I did see that thing about him in 666. And to be honest, I don't really remember much about it right now. Depression fucking makes it hard to think clearly. Although notice I can access depressed memories more easily. Okay, so Casey, you're the med student or whatever, right? Yeah. All right, let's see what you said. That's truly a terrifying story. I feel it must have been so scary. Oh, fuck yeah. It was. So now we're talking about me getting threatened with electroshock. So that's what Martin found funny. Which I'm glad you found it funny, Martin. I don't take that the wrong way. Yeah, it was terrifying. So Casey says, that's truly a terrifying story. It must have been so scary. I can tell you're a very intelligent guy, and I don't understand. I would recommend this and bring it down to religion. Okay, and very helpful. So you're finding it helpful. Yes. What would you have hoped they would have done? So those two, first of all, with the psychiatrist who had a four horsemen point of view, it's like rationality rules is cool. I like Sam Harris. There's a time and place if you're an atheist to put forth your best argument. It's not in a fucking mental institution. Life's hard enough for all of us. But life is really hard for people inside a mental institution. And even if you think religion's the opium of the masses, well, you're happy to prescribe mind altering fucking drugs. Faith holds some people together in suicidal states. So even if you don't believe there's a God, if that's what's holding someone else together, keep your atheist arguments, like fucking take them online and argue with some intellectuals. Then with like the other ones who I think of who just didn't listen, it's like, what do I wish they'd done? I wish that they had listened. Like, if you're going to take that fucking job, and if you're going to take, and I get I wasn't paying them. It's like they're hired by the government and I get fucking free mental health care. But so I have no choice of who I can see. But if you're going to take that fucking job, and if you're going to take a fucking client, and if you're going to ask a fucking question, then listen to the answer. And I think those jobs require caring. There's certain jobs you can do and you don't need to give a shit. Just do the fucking job. Psychiatrist, therapist, priests. If you're doing those jobs, you should actually fucking care. And Emily likes the idea of doing another night on just dealing with therapists and mental health. And Caden says, I would be honored. So I assume that's about me saying, like, about doing a podcast. I am a student, 38, but still, I'm also a hypnotherapist and very much love convos about subconscious. Your mind is endlessly interesting and beautiful to me. Thank you for your insight and experience. I will look you up on Discord. Also, 80s cartoons are definitely the best. Fuck yeah, the 80s were great. It was a great time to be a little kid. All of our minds are endlessly. Okay. Take that attitude to every one of your clients. And I get that I'm a little bit more elaborately interesting than some of them. We're not all as eloquent. But everyone is endlessly interesting. And another, like, I'd learned mindfulness on my own in isolation before I knew the term. It was the same thing with agapic meditation. Before I didn't know what the word agapic was, but I've done a lot of agapic meditation. Agape is the general love for humanity. It's not a specific love. It's not romantic love. It's not familial love. It's not friendship love. It's just pure love for everything. And mixed with some of Eckhart Tolle's now shit. So for anyone who's a fucking therapist of any kind, or just wants to be a good friend or a good partner or a good brother, sister, good parent, look a bit into like mindfulness so that you're aware of what's going on inside of you. Look a bit into like the Eckhart Tolle, how to be present in the current moment and be fully, just learn how to be fully present with somebody. And do whatever it is you have to do, whatever kind of agapic meditation to learn to like, and without any claims of the metaphysics of it all. Because like Sam Harris will point out, you don't have to get into the bullshit metaphysics people attach to this stuff. Meditate on as if it's true that we are all part of this one great infinite consciousness. Imagine that we're really all one. And also just imagine that everyone is endlessly interesting and everyone is infinitely beautiful and worthy of your love and attention. Like, I would advise years of regularly meditating on that until it's easy for you to call that up, and try to be present in the moment and loving towards whoever it is that you're trying to help. Like, great gurus and shit can help people just by achieving that state around them. They don't even have to say anything, but also you'll find it easier to say the right things coming from that place. But also, if you can just achieve that state, learn how to be present in the moment, fully experiencing now. Learn how to really feel the oneness of everything, and learn how to feel agapic love towards everything. And just sit on a park bench or sit on a bus or a subway and pull up that emotion. Like, get yourself into that state and don't do anything to tell anyone about it. People will notice. Gurus can heal people just by, there's the idea of state sharing, but it's like just by achieving that state, other people feel better in your presence. If you can mix that with the shit that they're teaching you in school and the shit that you put together from learning through life, you'll be a very powerful healer. Emily says, as for the gray skull, I had it in mint condition for 30 years and the kids broke the microphone. Wait, you're talking about Snake Mountain then? Snake Mountain has the microphone. Not Castle Gray Skull. But yes, that would be a piss off. Okay, and so Emily says Kevin Bacon was who you were thinking of before, and that movie's great for playing the 6 Degrees to Kevin Bacon game. For me, that game's short. I think it's like 0 degrees of separation means you know Kevin Bacon, right? And then 1 degree is you know someone who knows him. So I know James Gunn and I know Lloyd Kaufman, and they both know Kevin Bacon. Also, Lloyd said to me that when he met Kevin Bacon this one time, and he brought up the Kevin Bacon game with Kevin Bacon, that he hadn't heard of it yet. So Lloyd says he was the first one to tell Kevin Bacon that he was the one used as an example of how to do of the 6 degrees of separation. Yeah, I can see, Martin, why you would find that funny. And I'm curious what Pajot would think of the symbolism of that happening on 666. If I talk to Pajot again, I should remember to just tell him that story, because he likes to explain what symbolism's playing out in things that happen. So if I ever record a talk with Pajot again, I'm going to try to remember to tell him that story. Dimensional says all institutions are godless, void of God. The only institution is nature, has everything you need. Our institutions are a reflection of our own madness. I didn't even go to college. I don't think that's necessarily true. Actually, I would say all institutions have gods. Just many of them have lower gods, gods that shouldn't be put in the place of the one true God. But the institutions are also made up of individuals. So even if someone thinks that the institution they're going into worships the wrong God, you can still go in worshiping the real one, whatever's actually there. The is that is what it is. Snap says pain is a really good source of motivation to learn and move forward. It can be. when it comes along with energy, but pain can also just overwhelm and make it impossible to move at all. That's why this stream and the last one turned out so fucking long. I don't have the energy to shift modes. Yeah, I've noticed this series of I'm going to share this suicidal depression and check in on a regular basis. At this level of depression, it's easier to just keep sitting here than it is to shift modes at all, to turn this off and figure out what I'm going to do next. It's just inertia and no fucking energy to move forward. And no energy to learn. I don't feel like I'm in a state to take in new information. So pain can be a really good source of motivation to learn and to move forward. Or pain can be so overwhelming that you can't even comprehend what someone's trying to teach you. And it can just turn gravity all the way up to where movement seems impossible. Emily says, yes, I've heard countless times from friends and strangers I emit a vibe that attracts them and makes them feel like they can do anything and be themselves. I don't know how sometimes on bad days. It's just you don't have to know. Oh. Yeah, it's amazing the effect we can have on other people in small, simple ways. If we just... Fuck, I'm too tired to finish. There's thoughts in my head that I can't put into words. So fuck it. Yep. And so you don't have to know the guy in the Kevin Bacon game because I never met anyone famous. We'll usually just pick with a celebrity and try to link them through directors or actors in movies. Oh yeah, the version of going through. Well, now you know me, and I've known a bunch of famous people, so you're 2 degrees of separation. You know me, and I know Lloyd and James Gunn, and they both know Kevin Bacon. And Martin would love to hear me tell Pajot that story. Okay, go tell Pajot you want us to talk. I can't stand setting up podcasts or reaching out to people. Much, much easier for me to respond to somebody reaching out to me. Actually, that's one part of the channel that I really haven't exercised. Like, one thing that has been neat about this channel was last summer I got to talk to a bunch of people that I used to watch on YouTube, like back before I ever met Andrew. I got to talk to Guy Senstock and Dr. Greg Enriquez and Dr. Oren Amate and Tim Freak, Jonathan Pajot, Paul Vanderklay. That was neat. That's the one thing about the channel. It's got enough subscribers that there's probably a bunch of people that I could talk to. I always thought that was the one, like, the neatest thing about Joe Rogan isn't the fucking amount of views or money or all that shit. It's the number of people that he can just be like, I want to talk to Elon Musk. I want to talk to this person. I want to talk to that person. And they come have a conversation with him. There are plenty of minds on the planet that I would be when I'm in the right mood, would be very interested to interact with, that before I took over the channel, I wouldn't have been able to. But now that I have the channel, it has enough subscribers that I could probably get lots of interesting. Actually, I've even had people tell me they can set up bigger, like certain people that I'm curious to talk to. Just they've always brought it up when I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll do it later. Looking back, I've done that too much in the past. Like one that I go further back, way before I ever took over this channel, years back. I met Clive Barker at the Festival of Fear in Toronto. I think that was, yeah, I didn't work it that year. The first year Trauma was there, I worked at. I just went and visited Lloyd there that year. But anyway, I met Clive Barker and pulled the whole, hey, I'm friends with Lloyd. And Lloyd didn't know Clive Barker, but Clive Barker knew of Lloyd. And so I used to use his name to talk to people. And when I met Clive Barker, he's fucking awesome. And I love Clive Barker. I've read all his books up to a certain point, and then I've got a tattoo from one of his books. Like, and this is, he did this. It's from Cabal. You can't see it. Who cares? When I met Clive Barker, we got along fucking great. And he knew so much about Trauma. He even knew that they used to have an office in LA, except he thought they still did. Because that's where Clive Barker lives. So he was like, Trauma has that LA office, right? And before I could even say they don't have the office in LA anymore, he's like, if you're ever down in LA, let me know. Because I keep all my paintings in my house. And I'll give you a tour. Then he said, oh, he's gone part of the year, but if I'm in LA and he's not there, let him know and he'll get his partner or his assistant to give me a tour. And I was so fucking excited about that. And I always thought, one day I'm going to head down to LA and check out Clive Barker's house. But I look back on it now and I'm like, how the fuck did I not just plan a road trip to LA whenever the fuck Clive Barker was going to be home next? And even like I look back on last year and I could have talked to more people that I was interested to talk to. Just either too busy or at times it was like I don't feel great. Let's set that up sometime in the future. But maybe when I'm doing better again, if outside circumstances ever ease up on me, maybe some summer I should really take advantage of the whole, I've got a big enough subscriber base that I could have some interesting conversations. That if I keep saying, because it was like, it seemed like I could go down and see Clive Barker anytime. So I kept putting it off. To the point where now I even lost the contact point. If life circumstance ever opens up, in a way, maybe I should make a point at one point to reaching out to people I would be interested in talking to. So that a decade from now, I don't look back and think, I had that channel for a long time. There's a chance I could have talked to, this person or this person. I definitely could have talked to these people. I never did. It always seemed like, I can do it later. I can do it later can be deadly. Like, not to you. Like, I don't mean it the way I meant suicidal depression can be deadly. I mean, it can be deadly to a dream. If you have a dream of doing something and it always feels like you can do it later, that can kill it ever manifesting. Snap says, Emily, you look like a naive person in a good way. What is naive in a good way? With a good heart, that's probably what makes people like you. Okay, and you have both castles. The purple one with the wolf microphone is Snake Mountain. So Snake Mountain originally, back in the days of Preternia, was created by the Snake Men. King Hiss and Rattler and Tongue Lasher and Snake Face back in the days of Preternia. But then that's what Skeletor found and moved into. So Snake Mountain's the purple, and Castle Grayskull's the green castle with a skull face. And yes, it's green, even though it's called Grayskull. Compliments are making me laugh right now, because part of me really doesn't want to accept them. Casey says, "You're a good man, and I will take your advice to heart. I very much want to mix my love for all souls." I didn't know agape. "With scientific methods of healing. Every word you've said is gold." Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's what the medical field needs. And I don't want to like dismiss fucking science and medicine for just the love and the new age or the magical shit. But really, that's what every field needs right now, is love brought back into it, and working from a place of oneness with people. If you can connect a spiritual, agapic love for the people you're working with what you're learning in school, you're going to be able to do great things for people. And a good therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist can make a big difference in a person's life. And the bad ones wear us the fuck out. Oh, it's cool. Your son's named Adam. I never got into Pink Floyd The Wall. I like plenty of other albums that would make you think I might like Pink Floyd's The Wall. I've known tons of people who were super into that. It never caught for me. Dimensional says, "Your honesty is uplifting. Maybe your suffering is meant to help others, or maybe teach them something. Helps me listen to someone who has also lost their mind." Okay. Also, that, Casey, be honest. One of my favorite things about both Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris is their thoughts on honesty and lying. Don't lie to a client. And like, it's just, for instance, it's like sometimes for some people, it does help to hear, look, it will get better, as if that's actually true. But be careful with absolute statements with intelligent people, and like, be careful with fucking lying to people. I don't tell anyone who's suicidal, me personally, that I guarantee it will get better. It will probably get better, but it is possible. Like, I've been hit by a bus, I've been hit by lightning, I almost drowned once. We could all die any point. Like, any one of your clients who's depressed and feels like it will never get better, the truth is, tomorrow could be worse than today. The day after could be worse than that, and then they could get hit by a bus. So the truth is, it might actually get, and it can always get worse. No matter how bad a situation any of us have been in, imagine being in that situation and add your mother dying. Or if you've already lost your mother, your daughter, or if you've lost both of them, imagine both legs broken. And we can just keep going, but it can always get worse. Especially with intelligent, crazy people, don't lie to them. Like, you can put a positive spin in an honest way. And like, if what slips out of your mouth is, look, it will get better, and the person, they take that to heart, then sure, they don't need nuance. But if you find that you say to someone, it will get better, and they go, it might not, realize that you said the absolute, and realize that for them, they see through that. And so then add the nuance of, okay, that was hyperbole. What I really meant is it will probably get better. But you're right. You could break your arm when you leave the office, and then two other bad things could happen, and then you could die. That's possible. But given where you are, chances are it's probably going to get better. And as to the rest of what you said, dimensional, if there's going to be a meaning that makes this worth it, then God has some plan to use me to help others who are in hell, is the reason I keep getting slammed down into hell. If that's the reason, I accept it. Oh, hey, Dust is here. How far behind am I? Yeah, you can play that Kevin Bacon game legit now. Enjoy. So Dust says, hello, I've been missing these. Sorry about that. No need to fucking apologize, man. How have you been doing? You weren't doing great last time we talked. I've hit a fucking low swing, and I don't know how caught up you are. How are you doing at the moment? And 2076, I don't know how to share my screen. I don't know how to play music. I couldn't play the new Akira the Dawn song for everyone. I can't play clips and shit. I can turn on a webcam, like live stream. That's it. I can't do anything else fancy. Sorry. Okay, so Coach has some questions, it seems here. No, give me a minute. I'm going to go to the little lunatics room, relieve my bladder, and it will make it easier to think. I'll be back. Fuck, this has gone on a stupidly long amount of time. So, Coach said, hey, brother, I had a question regarding your habits. Clearly, you've gone through this pain before and you've obviously triumphed. When this unfortunate mindset overwhelms you, what habits help? You've mentioned practices like fitness and meditation. From what I understand from my clients, it's hard to work out when that's severely depressed. I'm a routine coach centered around health. So, for you, what practice do you engage that helped you come back into balance? Thanks so much. Okay. I've used different things at different times. Depression is such a fucking, that's just a category. There's so many varieties of depression. depression, and there's varieties of suicidal states. Like earlier, I was feeling a panicky kind of suicide. Right now, I'm feeling a very dull suicidal urge. It's like vast, but unintense. It's passive. The other one felt active. The other one was like clawing at the inside of my skull, um, trying to break us out of here. This is more of a like a fog of mild suicidal desire that is just floating there. So different things work at different times. And yeah, when I get depressed, I cannot keep up with I don't think I've ever had a winter since I've lost my mind that I've kept up exercising throughout the winter. Sometimes I can do a bit. There's winters where I just fucking, the only exercise I get is getting out of bed, walking to the couch, getting up to get a coffee, sitting back down, getting up to piss, sitting back down. There's winters where that is all I have done. There's winters where the majority of my day I lay in bed the whole day reading. Would read like 12 to 16 hours a day lying in bed. Okay, one thing I'll say is when I'm depressed, like if I'm more mildly depressed, sometimes what I can get myself to do is to exercise a little if it's so little that it doesn't take exertion. If it's like just a couple push-ups, that it's stupid. But if I can get myself into the habit of doing, and I don't like doing push-ups direct on the floor. It's harder on my lower backs, and it's easier to do push-ups against the stairs on the incline. But to just make myself do 10 push-ups against the stairs isn't that fucking hard. There's times where I know I don't have the motivation to get myself doing any kind of exercise routine that will actually wear me out and take effort. But I can, or even say you're so fucking depressed you couldn't even do 10 against the stairs. It's like I can do 2, and then the third one feels like too much effort. Just make yourself do 2 a day and try to just make that a habit. Especially if it's like towards the end of spring or winter, and I can get that going. It's like that turns into doing, 10, turns into doing like, fuck it, I'll do 20, and can build out from there. There's certain types of depression that I experience that I have to treat them like it's got to be meditation and stuff. And a lot of it is also treating myself almost like I have the flu. It's like I do sometimes have to allow myself to put minimal effort into life, to spend the majority of the time fucking on the couch, like as if I had the flu, where it's just you try to pamper yourself, watch good movies, listen to good music, listen to podcasts, meditate. Also during depression, I actively use my toy collection. I get out some fucking Boglin I always wanted as a kid, and I sit and stare at it or play with it. And it's like and it's different for different people, but like when part of it is a bipolar, cycle, and mine lines up with the year, it's for me, there are times where it's just about getting through now. And I can't worry about fixing anything, and I can't make any improvements, but I'll deal with that when I'm doing better. And when you're in a state like that, it's hard not to make things worse and attack yourself for doing just that. Sometimes you have to let that be okay. Sometimes what helps is reading a lot. I've gone through depressive periods where I'd read 12 plus hours a day. Paying attention to what you're taking in, whether like anything, media wise, but also what you're doing with your time. Is it making you feel better or worse? And can you stop doing anything? Because sometimes we do things that make things worse. My brain's worn out. I'm going to take a break for a minute and just read. I'm glad you're to hear that you're doing better, Dust. I've been worried about my condition. Okay, at the moment, I feel better than when I started the stream. The suicidals turned to more of a dull, but it's like I do still feel that inside me. Fuck, can't I just get out of here? But I'm in more of a mode of accepting that, and it's better than the fucking intense version I was feeling before. Some of the better parts of me are able to be active alongside the internal depression, and I'm letting them speak. It's not that there aren't other trains of thought going on inside. And without saying it out loud, I made the decision to stop. Like earlier on, or in some of my other streams recently, I've been verbalizing the negative trains of thought, so other people won't feel so alone with it and trying to blah, blah, blah. I'm on the switch where, when I was giving advice and shit, I was trying to plug into the positive thoughts instead and let the negative ones go without voicing them. But anyway, don't worry that I've been low, and don't worry that I'm putting up all these videos about being down. That's not like a cry for help. Yes, I'm doing really fucking bad right now, but I've done just as bad or worse at other times while I'm doing the channel, and I've just hid throughout more of it. But I got a lot of feedback after the first couple videos in this series, before I knew this was a series. And so I made the decision that I'm going to ride out this one more publicly and check in every couple days if I can, or as often as I can. Yeah, just because there's some other people who are also actively suicidal. And this is kind of a, hey, I'm suicidal too. Let's all agree to keep sticking it out to my next live stream kind of a thing. I hope this fucking, actually, I don't actually hope. But since I don't know how else to word it, this isn't accurate. But I hope, for lack of knowing how to say it better, that this series doesn't go on very long. It would be really nice if I start improving after today. And I can wrap up this series with, hey, I haven't, been suicidal in a couple days now. I think that series is at an end. I do look forward to when this series ends. But don't worry if you see it continue for a while. It's not that it's worse than before. It's just I've never done it publicly before. I would be interested to see the ocean again. I've never seen the ocean since I was insane and picked up, because now, I pick up on weird energies and the spirit of places. So I'd like to meet Poseidon. I've seen the ocean before I was insane, but I didn't know Poseidon was there. I'd like to connect to the energy of the ocean. Actually, one thing, one fucking happy place I go to sometimes when I'm depressed in my mind is like a fantasy vacation that I will meditate myself into, play out in my head, is to take a boat out into the middle of the ocean, out way beyond the shipping lanes and shit, so that every direction you look, it's nothing but ocean and sky. And you don't see land anywhere. I would love to go as far away from all humans as possible, to the middle of the ocean, where you're the furthest possible from all human energy. Ideally, you're somewhere that's, yeah, entirely outside of shipping lanes, outside of flight paths, and to spend like a month. Just have a bunch of books and music and weed and smokes and food for a month, and to just go right out into the middle of nowhere in the ocean and just experience the energy of the sky and the deep ocean. All the fucking massive sea beasts underneath. It seems really pleasant to me when I'm depressed. Hey, Longstone, how you doing? I'm sorry, I'm gonna allow myself to read a few things without responding. My brain's worn the fuck out. And I don't know, I might be on the verge of wrapping up, or I might, through inertia, stay here and start talking again. I'm not sure. Well, I'll say bye to Emily in case you're still there. She said you had to go. Very well said, Dust. And thank you, Mad Max. Good night, Coach. God bless. Lots of love. Yeah, Dust, I'd like to talk sometime. I do actually have a lot going on, more than I can keep up with, like not channel stuff. And what I can do is very limited. So, yeah, I'd like to talk. I don't know exactly how soon I'll feel up for it. But that also just means I don't know that maybe I will feel up for it very soon. Or maybe we could do a lunatic patrol sometime. Maybe even if I am still very depressed. Um, Maybe we could end one of these with an invite that anyone who wants to talk more in person and hang out with people a bit. I don't know what I'm struggling enough that my time frame that I can look forward is very short. I have no idea how I'm going to handle tomorrow. Kevin Jones, welcome, says, I came across a technique called IFS, internal family system, which involves noting and addressing aspects of oneself as if they were discrete individuals. It seems to have some utility for me. um, is that the same as like a subpersonality model? You might want to take a look at my former partner on the channel, Ryan Holsapple. His mentor was Dr. Roger Strachan. And all the stuff with Ryan and Roger. Like I talked to Roger a couple times. Um, Ryan did a bunch of videos with him, but they specialized in subpersonality work. Is what you're talking about similar to that? Because while I didn't think, like, I had done some version of like what Ryan talked about before I ever knew about subpersonalities. I do treat different parts of my psyche like different individuals in a way. And I will sometimes start referring, like, I will even sometimes talk from subpersonalities while I'm on streams. And I know when I get into letting different subpersonalities talk, I will also sometimes fall into referring to myself as we when I do that, because it's like an individual, each individual part feels like they're an I. And when I'm more in that mode, sometimes in live streams, I'll start talking about what we do or how we deal with this and what I feel about that. And there's that other part of me that thinks this. Or I'll sometimes refer to myself as the system. I've noticed when I'm in that mode. Like I might say something like, I really want to get the fuck out of this body, but the system won't allow that. I totally lost my train of thought. Which that really helps, by the way. One thing that has helped me with, because a lot of people talk about my honesty or my authenticity. And it's weird because one of the things that always came through clearly for me, even when I was having the total psychotic breaks that were very damaging and where I was projecting my own subconscious and shadows into the light and reflecting back all kinds of nonsense. So I was raving all kinds of nonsense that I thought was divinely inspired. But the one thing that always came through from the beginning clearly was stop fucking lying. The divine said that to me right away. And I've always felt that. When I first met my archangel, he was 100% behind that. Like, just, yes, we've been saying that to you. You have to take like a vow of honesty. And you don't even know how to be honest. You have to learn how to be honest. So there is a level of, fucking taking vows to these mighty fucking beings in the almighty that as actually seems phenomenologically real to me. So there was that pressure to push me towards the honesty thing. And honesty and authenticity really aren't that different. That's kind of different aspects of the same thing. But what does help on top of that about being totally insane is you get overwhelmed. And it's like, I couldn't keep track of lies. So then you also have to allow yourself to be contradictory. Yeah, I said that the other day because, I was feeling that and I was really applying this frame, but now I feel differently. But go crazy enough and it's like, you just have to tell the truth. Because the truth is too fucking weird. And it's too much. Like, reality is beyond me. I myself am beyond me. I do not understand myself. I have much more insight into myself than I did before. I'm much wiser. I'm more enlightened than I was before I was insane. But I am still a fucking mystery to myself. Night, Martin. God bless. Love you, brother. And you say, despite how you're feeling, I think this series is a sign of strength and growth. All right. Keep it up, buddy. And I'd love to talk to you as a friend. No pressure, though. Yeah, I'd like to talk to you soon, too. We'll see what happens. I don't know. You never annoy me, Dust. Casey says your honesty is palatable, and I'll do my best to be open with my clients and respectful of their feelings. Good night. I hope to talk to you soon. Yeah, I'm glad you stumbled across this. God bless. Good night. And yeah, at some point, let's do a podcast together because people had some interest in that. I'm sure it'll be helpful to people. Hi, Christina. Not everyone here is doing well, but some people are doing well and some people are struggling. How are you doing? Kevin says, I like that you both note that you're depressed and you're not flagellating yourself for it. I've been finding that noting and observing without forcing and guilting seems to make my cycles easier. Yep. Also, like, self-punishment over it. None of us fucking chose this. That's a time when Sam Harris's no will argument, which no free will. If you look into it, it's logically bulletproof. And I've experienced what he talks about. I experience the phenomena of feeling like I'm summoning my will. And there is something called willpower that I burn up and run out of and blah, blah, blah. But free will underneath it, I can get deeper than that and see a spot where I do not experience free will, to tell you the truth. I can't find it. I believe in it. Like I look for it in the future. And we do often have to operate as if we almost, like, it's easier to operate sometimes as if we all have free will. Like it's easier to think that way, but I really don't observe it. I can find a deep part of me that Sam Harris found in himself. It is just like, holy fuck, this is all just happening. And I didn't learn it from anyone else. It was after I first went into isolation. And it was when I was in isolation. I had no phone, no internet. I was just getting my stuff dropped off. I discovered that place inside myself, and it terrified me at first, and I didn't like it. And it was painful and difficult to experience that part of me. It gave me headaches, and I remember when I first discovered it, I discovered that and then backed off and went and was just like, no, forget that and like suppress it. I can't deal with that perspective. It's like, then I would now and then think of it again and it would overwhelm me and I'd suppress it. And then it would get to where I'd think of it now and then and it'd be intense. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to put this away now, but I'm going to come back to it. And then it got easier to go back to that place inside. And then one day I adjusted to it and I could go into that. And that place is actually a comforting place to go now. It was difficult before. But from within that place, it's just like Sam Harris describes it. You observe everything. Your thoughts, your choices, those are all just happening. Like you're not choosing to choose. Or even if you've got two layers of train of thought going, so you're choosing to choose, you're not choosing to choose. Like the thoughts just happen. Feelings just happen. Now just happens. Everything is just there. It's just the way it is. I never know the end of my fucking sentence when I started doing these fucking ramblings. Or maybe it's in like whichever one of the Matrix sequels where he says, I don't know what choice to make. And the Oracle says, you're not here to make a choice. You've already made all the choices. You're here to discover why you made the choices you made. Maybe there's some other dimension of reality where I made every choice simultaneously somehow and signed up for this and it's playing out. But also when I think about it, I agree with Sam Harris. This is just like chasing the robber up the stairs, like the way Alan Watts would put it. But then if you go up to that dimension, how does that part of you have for free will? Because how did it choose what it is? And how did it didn't choose the choices it was presented, and it didn't choose its internal nature, did it? Unless I can't quite understand how we choose our own internal nature ever. At some point you start as what you are. It seems to me like that's every point. We just are what the fuck we are. This is just happening. Well, I hope you get something out of the rerun if you watch it and catch up, Christina. Be mindful of how watching it affects you. If it brings you down, fucking turn it off. We can watch anything online now. I remember at a point being a kid where the only way to watch a movie was to see it in the movie theater or at the drive-in. And then how amazing things like VCRs were. But all of you, like whether it's you watching right now or whether you're in the future watching one of my videos, be mindful. Are you just watching it out of habit and you've learned, you've thought about this shit enough? Because we can all watch anything now. It's amazing. It's all online. Every episode of The Twilight Zone is all there. The original Masters of the Universe and every other version. The New Adventures of He-Man and the 200X and Kevin Smith's new Masters of the Universe Revelation. There's all the podcasts on YouTube. There's much smarter people than me. There's such brilliant art out there. There's so many fucking books to read. And your own mind is so fucking interesting. If you just turned everything electric off for an hour, there are amazing things you could experience just inside yourself. So if you're watching my shit, it should actually be good for you for some reason. And if it isn't, go watch something better. Okay, and I asked Kevin this. Subpersonalities sounds similar. I dig the system as an internal reference that fleshes out my modeling a bit. Okay, yeah, and like for me, I started working that again. It's like it's not that I learned the subpersonality thing from Ryan and Roger. It's like I discovered it in my own way. But also, there's some old magical practices and stuff that are very similar, teach you a very similar thing of a way to interact internally. And I find what I had developed on my own was like we have these internal spaces, and sometimes it's easier to put a visualization to it. Fuck. I'm afraid this isn't going to make any sense, but I'm going to try anyway. Wait, I'm going to switch what I'm smoking. Okay, so I used a visualization that within me there's like a world, and there's a kingdom at the center of the world. At the center of the kingdom, there's a castle. The center of that's a throne room, and feels to me like the throne room's in here. It's in my chest, but it also runs right up to the brain. But stuff that is influencing the system, like when I go into the throne room, I can see those subpersonalities or entities, or even there's some things in me that aren't subpersonalities, they're energies and whatnot. It's like if I go into the throne room, there will be representations of what's inside me present in the throne room. And if stuff are down like at the back, it's like where like the subjects can be observing and they're not really influencing the system, but they can kind of shout out from there, and there's the energy of that area. But then like there's a throne, up some steps, a throne, and like an area around it. If something's really fucking influencing the whole system, it's up on that floor around the throne. But whatever subpersonality or whatever part of me is running the body, that's the part of me that's sitting on the throne. I find that very useful, that visualization. It helps me choose who's on the throne or not, like who's actually running the body. And then you can kind of deal with everything in there. You let the subpersonalities work shit out, like in there talking to, I guess, my internal king, which is the part of me most in touch with my higher self, perhaps, which is also the part that can get back into the detached place. Oh, fuck. I give up there. I'm glad your we is happy to see me on today, Christina. And Kevin, take a look at search subpersonalities on my channel. Ryan Holsapple does an introduction to subpersonalities. It's called something like an introduction to subpersonalities. Dust says, honesty is hard for me with my fractured personality. I'm a divided person, but I try to be as honest as I can. Yeah, that's the other thing, is understanding that there's like, we don't know full truth. And it's, for me, being honest is sometimes contradicting myself or starting to add more nuance. Like with anything, there is no, society tends to like to ask us the way like things are in a test. Here's the question, what's the answer? Like someone might say to me, do you like coffee? And the mainstream way for me to answer would be yes. I drink coffee every fucking day. I obviously like coffee, but it's like that lacks nuance. The proper answer is sometimes. I like coffee sometimes. If you wake me up after I've been asleep for an hour and offer me a coffee, I won't be happy you woke me up because I want coffee. It's I wanted to sleep. There are things that I like, or some, you could word it different ways. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. I feel differently about it at different times, or it can be, you can look at it like some parts of me like it, some don't. So to me, honesty isn't even fully about telling the truth. Like I like the way Piers, it's about not lying. It's about being honest about what you're thinking and experiencing, even if that doesn't all make sense and it's self-contradictory. Yeah, understanding yourself as a process rather than as an object. Well put, Kevin. Sorry to hear you're struggling today a bit more internally. Oh, hey, Levi. Good to see you here. How you doing, brother? If you're ever if you're really struggling, check out Levi's channel. Although you have more than one channel, Levi. But his cover of Help by the Beatles is awesome when you're depressed. Sorry to hear that you can't sleep, Levi, and that's tough. Being out of smoke. So you're up late songwriting. Yeah, anyone who's depressed, go check out Levi's cover of Help. It's awesome. Oh, I hope you at least get a great song out of your insomnia. Christine says, just finished watching The Game with my boyfriend. Is that the one with the guy from 300? And it's the one where people control other people's bodies to play the game like over the internet? You control other bodies as avatars? Dust says, I watch you for the ASMR background noise. Nice. Kevin says, I like that you're comfortable taking quiet pauses, a rare thing. Yeah, I suppose that really is. Grizz hated that I could do that when me and him were over on his D Live. I was on his D Live a lot last summer. He couldn't stand that I was comfortable with pauses because he isn't. Yeah, I like quiet. Christina says, you've been able to visualize and visit your inner world question mark. Wow, that's more than I could do so far. Oh yeah, I can go all kinds of fucking places with my mind. I can go internally, like I can meditate and go internally where I'm in an internal, or I even I frame it as, or perhaps I do astral project, like the journey inward and outward becomes difficult to differentiate between in altered states, but I can go into meditative states where I guess it's the actually me and Andrew have talked about it because Andrew's very good at lucid dreaming. He says that when I do a meditation and like astral project to an internal place, he says it seems to him like that's very close to his experience of lucid dreaming, where he can control shit with his mind. Also, it's funny, I've done some experiments with astral projecting with other people where I create a place and then I described like a house for the person. Like I described the house so that they can find the place in the astral realm that I made. And um, then they go to that place and go inside and I tell them, I left something, the house should look like this and it should be empty, except I've put something in there. Go in there and find out what it is. And then they write to me telling me like what I put in there. And I've had some other experiences in the astral plane with other people where it's similar to when Alan Moore describes his experiences with Steve Moore when they would take mushrooms and do magic rituals together and interact with entities from other dimensions. It's like they might both see the being differently, but they remember it's saying the same. It's like you experience some things differently and some things in common in the astral realm when you're there with someone. And sorry, I'm not responding to everything. My brain's worn out. But Christina says, for us, our throne room is more like a space control deck of a ship. That makes sense, kind of like the Enterprise. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I've heard of other people using that as well. Okay, and Levi says you got to look up Levi Plasma Music if you want to check out his awesome cover of Help. I hope you enjoy the video, Kevin. Oh, there. And Levi commented from the channel where he's got help. Everyone go subscribe and support Levi. He's awesome. And his music's great. All right. Nice to see Dimensional and Christina making friends here. Also, like the Discord was more active last year when I was doing the lunatic patrols and shit. And there was more people from the community talking to each other back then. And that all petered out quite a bit. But since I've been doing this suicidal series, there's been a few new people join the Discord. And I'm not a social media type person. Like the posting shit on the Discord or interacting there on the Discord isn't really me. But there's some new people coming, and lots of you get along so well when I introduce you to each other. I know it was much better when I was doing the lunatic patrols and some of you were seeing each other face to face. You would keep up with each other. Who knows? Maybe I can get a lunatic patrol going sometime, maybe not. But regardless of whether I do that or not, I know I don't use the rest of the Discord, but there's some new people showing up. And I've had, old timers tell me, they wish the Discord was more active again. They miss it. So while I'm doing this stupid, tune in next week to find out if our fucking suicidal hero is still alive. This has created a certain amount of focal attention here. A few new people have joined. So if you guys want to get that space more active and use me as a filter to gather a certain kind of people, now would be a good time to do it. And if you don't know how to do, like, what to do to make friends, if you're that kind of person, it's like, here's what's easy. Just go, like, write that you're new if you're new, or if you're old and haven't said anything in a while, just go write, like, literally anything. But the other thing is watch for anyone writing anything and then ask them a fucking question. Like if someone says, hey, I'm new here, ask them why they came, or ask them how they found the place, or ask them how they're doing. And for anyone who's new, like one of the like the vibe of my space is at like a lunatic patrol or on my Discord or here, like we're not here to debate. We're not here to argue. And like anyone who's trying to work towards the good and wants help is welcome. So it's like, I don't care what political party you are. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what your axioms, what your frame is. And like a debate is when we treat each other like textbooks, where you ask someone a question and then they give you the answer and you try to correct it. Like, oh, wait, this textbook is wrong. Instead, we operate here like everyone's a novel. We operate with dialogue here. This isn't about telling other people what reality is. This is about us sharing our experience of reality. And honestly, most of us here, if not everyone here, is smart enough to know that you don't know what the fuck reality is. You're living in your own hallucination. Like whether it's Donald Hoffman or just understanding confirmation bias from Jonathan Haidt. But you would be surprised how easy it is in the right space to be authentic and tell the truth because everyone else is, and because everyone else isn't there to judge you. Like the energy of, I don't know, closer to like an AA meeting or something. Just be present with people. Be aware of how valuable your attention is. What's his name? Is it Passio? Mark Passio likes to go on about the real currency you have in this life isn't in your bank account. It's time and attention. You have so much time here on earth. We don't know how much it is, but you have a certain amount. And what that time really is it's time that you have to pay attention to something. Every moment is like one unit of attention paying. You can experience so many moments, and they're counting down. And you don't know how many moments you have left. That's why your attention is so fucking precious and meaningful. Like not only to yourself, it's only time to read so many books. Pick the right ones. But also what you pay attention to alters your experience. You can have horrible experiences and wonderful experiences. But also there's only so much of your attention, and that's why everything wants it. And we're feeding a lot of it to algorithms and things right now. But everything wants your attention. Plants want your attention. People want your attention. Animals want your attention. Houseplants do better if you look at them and appreciate them. They do even better if you touch them and talk to them. Everything wants your attention. Like even things that run away and you don't think they do. It's because they're afraid and because you don't know how to be present with them. Chipmunks that ran away from other people come over and climb in my hand, because I've learned how to be present with them. Yeah, and people don't want your attention if you're with them in the wrong way. People don't want you sitting there hating them or staring at you, judging them. Like, you have so much attention that you can put out, and your mindset is a filter you can put on it. Imagine your attention like a light that comes direct from God and shines out, that experiencing part of you that can pay attention to anything. Your thoughts and your emotions and all of that shit are like filters you put on. If you put on a filter of hatred and judgment towards the world, so that your light of God's attention shines through and projects that onto everything, then yeah, things will wither when you project your attention on them, or attack you, or insult you, or you'll destroy them. But if you can learn to put on the right non-judgmental, I'm not here to debate with you. I'm here to have a dialogue. Tell me what you're experiencing, and I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just going to share what I'm experiencing. And if we're both smart enough to realize that neither of us are right, that can be okay. It can be okay that we're experiencing different things, and it can be okay that none of us know what the objective, or what is even an objective experience of this situation. Levi's got 21 tracks now, and he's teaching himself how to mix. Awesome. Okay, sorry that I'm skipping some things, but anyway, Dimensional says I was never able to project. I think some of it is fear. Any advice on getting past that fear and or inability to leave the body? Face the fear or walk into it. Take that presence and non-judgmental light, because the same thing that I was just saying about things on the outside, like go into a punk squat as a cop with a flashlight, you know what I mean? Go in with judgment and the authority of law behind you, and everywhere you shine your flashlight, the punks are going to scatter. Go in, you know, as a fellow punk, non-judgmental of everyone else, and when you walk up to people, they'll talk to you. It's the same thing with our insides. If you go looking inside yourself with judgment against the parts of you that are afraid or angry or hurt, and you're seeking them out to tell them that they're wrong and they shouldn't exist and they shouldn't be, then no wonder it's going to run deeper. No wonder it's going to get the fuck away from your consciousness and manipulate behind the scenes to get what it wants. You can treat yourself the same way I talked about, you know, treating other people in this space. I would be non-judgmentally present with the fear. And be okay with the fact that at the moment the fear is stopping you from doing that. I imagine get to know that fear a little bit. Integrate it into the system. Find out what it needs from the rest of the system. Also, like, try to address its concerns. Recognize what benefit it gives the system, because it's serving some benefit, even if it's taking part of the pain so other parts of you don't have to take it. That's a service it's doing. And I imagine some of that work and getting out of the body will be easier. Levi says, I'm not too good at Discord. Feel like I don't use it enough. Really hate the noise it makes. Always messes up concentration. Can't turn it off. Yeah, and nobody who doesn't vibe with Discord, because, like, yeah, I don't vibe with that kind of a format. I'm not saying that anyone who doesn't vibe with that should force themselves to at all. That was just for the kind of people, because some people love that kind of format and will interact there a lot. Um, Anyone who's like that, there's that space is there. There's some new blood at the moment. And so if people want to interact more there, they can. But I'm like you, like, again, nobody should do that if it's not good for them. Just like no one should be watching this if it's not good for them. But yeah, you and me, Levi, we won't post much on Discord. Like I use the Discord. That's where I check messages and I post announcements there. Um, Occasionally I will react to something or post something somewhere else, a song and tunes, or I put up some photographs in the community photo album. But yeah, nobody that doesn't vibe for, including me and Levi, should push themselves on that. It's just there for the people who want that format. And I don't know, but I imagine at some point lunatic patrols will get going again. Yeah, that's why it's called paying attention. Okay, and Christina says the throne room is what he was describing was his inner world, basically. True. Yeah. And what's in his mind in a way. The house was describing astral projection with other people. Yes, which is true. And you can break it into that frame. But when you get really in tune, you find a place where you're like, oh shit, that's all the same thing though. If you go far enough inward, you get really far outward. And if you try to astral project outside of yourself and you go far enough, you end up inside yourself again. So that is a valid distinction to make, and you can experience that with that distinction. Also, that can dissolve where inner world and the outer astral projection over. Fuck, I can't describe that. I'm not going to try any harder on that right now. Are we mirrors for God? Isn't that some ancient idea? I'm sure someone has said exactly that. I don't quite see it that way. Rather than a mirror for God, it's more like we're each a stained glass window. The different pieces of us, changes and whatnot, but God is the pure light that is shining through. God is fucking everything. Also, God is the stained glass, and God is the air, and God. There's nothing that isn't God. But pure God consciousness is like the sunlight hitting the outside of the church window. The colored pattern on the floor of the church is you in this body. And the stained glass is like the mind and the emotion and the filters and all of that shit. Is more the way I see it than us being a mirror for God. You change the pattern of the pieces and you change what you project into the world. So you're really the stained glass. But what people experience of you is that beam of light that enters the room. Oh, also, what we really should be doing is moving over to Tyler's Metagora on the subject of Discord. Have you looked that up, Levi? So our good friend Tyler finally has his Metagora site up and going. And he designed that site with communities like us and Vervaeke and Pajot and Paul Vanderklay and all that shit in mind. As opposed to Discord is what apparently it started out as a gaming thing, and we're misusing it for what we're doing. Not that. Anyway, yeah. Tyler actually designed something called Metagora. And he made a sorting myself out page, or whatever the fuck you call it, account. He did show me one day. And, we set the plans that me, him, and a couple tech volunteers from the community would get together sometime and figure out how to use our site over on Metagora. But Tyler set it up already, and it's there for... I'm not good at this computer shit. So some of you that are... Although I don't know if any of the tech volunteers are around right now. I am at some point going to get together with some of the tech volunteers and Tyler. We're going to figure out how to use Metagora, and then that will be the main place we do all our interaction in the future, I think, once we get moved over there. Yeah, I think that's spelled right. Metagora. But so far I have not... Yeah, and I'm not going to try to check it out independently. I'm horrible with computer stuff. I'm going to have to look at it with some tech volunteers, but eventually that'll be the place where... Because he's got it designed for these communities that are growing, and he's got all these things I'm not going to try to explain that hopefully make it more healthy interaction for each community individually, but also facilitating the communities to cross-pollinate and work together, and that there will be places to be doing, like meetings and events and ways to also calendar stuff coming up. And there were some people talking about like operating their own shit a bit. Like there was maybe going to be some groups within sorting myself out that would start meeting without me. There was some talk of some shit like that, which Metagora would be built for. But anyway, I think I'm talked out. Holy fuck. Yeah, the inertia carried me on for 3.5 hours. I just got stuck here because I'm depressed. So I'm just going to keep doing whatever, I'm just going through the moments. I think this has been long enough. Yeah, no, what you said, Christina. I wasn't... Yeah, it definitely is worth saying. And I don't even know that what I said was worth saying. Maybe what I said just makes it confusing. Because it's a more grounded space that divides those. I don't know, maybe for most people it's most functional to completely separate the inner world and the outer world. And I do at times operate from the experiencing those as different. At other times I operate from experiencing those as being the same thing, kind of. That's... fuck. Thank you, Dust. I appreciate the prayers. Good to see you, Brian. I'm wrapping up now. This has been stupidly long. For no reason other than inertia. Thank you. I appreciate that, Christina. I hope everyone here has a great night. So whatever nonsense I was just rambling was enlightening and true for Christina. Good. Yeah, I hope everyone here is getting something positive out of this, if you're watching it. Because your time and attention should be precious to you. And you're always sacrificing everything else in the world for the one thing that you're paying attention for. Paying attention to. That's also the other reason it's so precious. If you sit down and give someone your full, undivided attention, you're sacrificing every other human being in the world. To be present with just one person is to say, I'm going to sacrifice everyone else in the world for you right now. But it's the same with any experience you're having. By having that experience, You're sacrificing every other experience you could be having. If you're taking a bath, it's like that's the moment you could have been somewhere else talking to this person, or over there talking to that person, or reading this book, or just, yeah, every moment of now collapses like infinite potential into one particular. That's an act of sacrifice. So if you're sacrificing everything to watch this, it better be worth it. And if not, find something better to give your attention to. On that note, I'm going to wrap this up. But I will be back again. I'm going to try to stick this out until I'm beyond the suicidal depression. I'll give check-ins often enough that nobody wonders or has to worry. So if you've made it to the end of this and you're suicidally depressed, shorten your time frame. Get through one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, or 1 minute at a time. Just keep getting through the now until the next stream, and we'll see each other there. God bless. Lunatic love to all. I hit fucking end stream and the screen froze. I don't know if people are still watching me or not. And my computer doesn't appear to do anything. This better not still be fucking streaming me without me being able to shut it off. Fucking start working.